sloping land held still long enough to see reflections, and he wouldn't have bothered anyway. Two things happened. Runnel began to take notice of the village girls, and realized that they took no notice of him, though they had eyes for all the other boys of his height. They neither flirted with Runnel nor taunted him. He simply didn't exist to them. And Father began to be more brutal in his beatings. Perhaps Father thought he finally recognized who Runnel's real sire must have been. Or perhaps he simply recognized that mere cuffings were nothing to Runnel now, and it would take more serious effort to explain to him just how despised he was. Whatever the motive, Runnel continued to bear it, though now there were always bruises, and sometimes there was blood. He could bear the disdain of the village girls. Many a man had found his bride in another village. He could bear the pain of his father's blows. What he could not bear, and did not understand, was the way his brothers and sisters began to avoid him. Father's constant seething rage against him had apparently marked him in their eyes as someone different and shameful. Their father could not be unjust. Therefore, Runnel must deserve the mistreatment. The other children did not strike him. It would have been redundant. But they began excluding him from things and playing mean pranks on him. On a certain day in early spring, when it was still cold and old snow lay in all northern shadows, the children took it into their mind to run like a flock of geese for the steepest of the crags they were wont to climb, and as Runnel began his own separate ascent, he somehow knew that this was a joke, that when he got to the top, he would be all alone, while the others were off somewhere else. Yet he continued to climb, thinking, "I'm too old to play these games anyway. I should spend my time like the older boys, lounging around or wrestling near the stream, where the girls came to fetch water, and gape and jape and try to draw their smiles, or, failing that, their disdain or mockery. But if he tried, then it would shame him and hurt him if they still paid him no attention. Besides, he didn't think any of the village girls were interesting. He didn't care if they noticed him. And he didn't care that when he got to the top of the crag, he was all alone. The world spread out before him. Mountains were all around, but so high was their valley that this crag was merely one among many, and he could see far and wide over the shoulders of the neighboring peaks. He saw the pass that led over the Mitherhome, for in Farzabek they had other names for the other mountains, and only used the sacred name for the great spine of mountains that lined up in a long row like the ragged teeth of a fighting sword, sharp obsidian flakes jutting from between the two halves of a split branch. The track that crossed it between two of its sharp teeth was called the Utter Road, if you went west toward Uheder, and the Mither Road, if you went east. That path, the travelers said, would take you down to the great valley of Mitherhome, the city of the water wizards, which was surrounded on all sides by holy water. On the pass, Runnel could see a wagon moving up the grassy road, though it was so far off that he only knew it to be a wagon because of how slowly and lurchingly it moved. And maybe he could see the animal pulling it, or maybe it was just a blur in the cold sunlight. He thought, why am I here when I could be there? And with no more contemplation than that, he climbed down the crag on the side toward the Mither Road, and did not even pass through the village, still less come near the family farm, on his way through the meadows and fields and woods. He came to the Mither Road just as it began its last ascent over the Mitherhome, and ran easily up the grassy path. Only when he stood at the very spot where he had seen the wagon did he stop and look back toward Farzabek. Runnel had never been to this place before, and had never looked at his village from so far away. It took him a considerable time even to find it. As for his family's farm, it was just a brown lump of a hovel in the midst of a meadow. In a week or so, Father would start to break up the earth with his sun-drawn plow, and then the meadow would disappear and bare earth would take its place. But right now, the farm looked no different from countless meadows and clearings. It was as if all their work there amounted to nothing. I'm hungry, thought Runnel, and he turned away from the